This conference will now be recorded.
In order, we'll start the Pledge of Allegiance.
Work is in your packet for that. I just forgot to put it on the agenda and my memo. But there's a memo in there from Miles and the resolution as well.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. We'll open the public comment portion. Individuals may address the city council about any items of concern. Speakers must state their name and limit the remarks to 3 minutes. Since we have one topic, we'll let you do public comments when we get to the, I assume it's the, what is it called? The public safety dollars. So we'll let a couple of you talk if you want during that time. Any other public comments other than the safety dollars? Yes, Bob.
I'll make a comment. This might be a moot point because I appreciate talking to you last night, Mayor. And then I talked to Brian this morning and he called this afternoon. And we're property owners. I'm Bob Hawley, by the way, from Zumbrota. We are property owners between Main Street and the new Keller Barton development. This thing does echo, doesn't it? But anyway, I think the existing residents and property owners have come to the realization that that development is a good thing, that it's good for the residents that'll live there. Long-term benefits, I think, for the community. You know, with these types of developments, I know it's difficult to balance existing residents' concerns versus the developers' concerns. So I appreciate the work you do to do that. I guess the major concern of the existing property owners has been to ensure that public parking remains at a level consistent with what has existed in the past. And no matter what the parking arrangements have been in the alley behind the properties and where the new development is going to go, I think it's been at least over 50 years that there's been plenty of parking back there and it's been utilized. It's been mostly on city property. And I just learned last night that there's a little piece of property the city owns that's going to be sold to Keller Barton, which is probably the wise decision. However, it's the only major factor that gives us any clout with determining how much public parking will be available. So I do appreciate the fact that Brian assured me today that it will be in the development agreement. And Mayor, you said that last night. As long as that is a permanent statement in there that those new parking spaces along the alley up against the Keller Barton property, which will now be their property 100%, as long as that remains open to the public, I think we'll be satisfied. But I just wanted to make my concerns known publicly. And I appreciate again the work that's being done to keep the parking available back there. Given the fact that they are using public parking to make this development happen, they needed the extra parking. So I think it's the least they can do is to allow that to proceed as you're talking about, to allow public parking on their private land. So that's all I have to say tonight, and I appreciate what you're doing to make that happen.
Thanks for your comments, Bob. I know him and I talked last night, and he talked to Brian, and Brian and I talked about the same issue, that we will do our darndest and make sure that it does stay public parking, or it doesn't just designate it just for that apartment complex. So I know that's been a concern, kind of when it started. So,
And that's always been part of it. That was an understanding from the beginning that that would remain public parking, and it would be in the developer's agreement. I talked to our city attorney, Mike Flaherty, this afternoon after talking to Bob. And, we're going to button it up in several different areas. The development agreement, it'll say it on the site plan. So it's been agreed to. It's just a matter of the documentation. And it'll be recorded with the property, so it'll always go with the property. New owner can't come in and say, hey, we're going to designate these parking spots. So it'll be, we're gonna make sure it's no question. So, yeah, appreciate your comments, Bob.
thanks, Bob. Any more public comments? I will close the public comment portion, and let's jump to the consent agenda. All items listed on the consent agenda are considered routine by council and will be approved by one motion. There will be no separate discussion on these items unless council member requests, in which case the item will be removed from the consent agenda and be considered in the normal sequence on the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Accounts payable, Kevin.
Nice here. We're coming to the end of the year. One, just to bring reference to the library boiler work, replacement of the boiler. I hear that was successful. I'm glad to see that the library is set for hopefully another 50 years of no problems with that. Otherwise, everything else looks very routine. I would make a motion to approve the accounts payable in a total of $53,902.04.
I'll second that.
Any other further discussions on accounts payable? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Let's jump down to unfinished business 7A, Resolution 2025-39, approving final budget and levy collectible in 2026. Kimberly, you got a little slideshow?
Oh, yeah, hang on closer because as I get older, I'm blinder. So I always do a little bit of a slideshow for you just to see what some of the trends that are going on in the city. And the first one is the population trend. And that just shows our population. Right now, it's always a year behind with the demographer. So our population right now is at 3,993 according to the demographer. I realize that there's a little bit of a discrepancy between different sources that some say we're over 4,000, some say we're there. So we've grown about 800 people since 2008. So next slide, please. Okay, these are our new residential starts from 2010 to 2025. These are the number of single family homes pretty much that have started. Last year we had a good year. We had 20 units started. This year we've got 14. A little bit of that was affected by some of the changes in interest rates and some of the uncertainty with financing. But we've got some good starts. Our lots are filling up. We're seeing good commercial market or good residential market growth, which in a turn will increase our marketable tax base, which spreads the tax burden of the city out a little further.
We've got some new house starts up on the 9th Street, the Champa area. And then also we're looking for more next year. The Highland 7th is slated to move forward. That's to be about 38 lots, I think. Plus the rates are coming down. So hopefully this will kick up.
And everything is a lag with taxes. So it gets done this year, it gets assessed. It's always like about 18 months till it actually hits the tax roll. So it takes a while for these things to get on board and get on for the value. Next slide, please.
Did it go?
No. There you go. New commercial market value. Look at that. They're big change from 2020 and 21. That was pretty much the DFA expansion, which was a very large expansion. Again, increased the taxable market base quite a bit. This year, we've had most of our projects have been smaller remodeling projects. Haven't really had any big construction projects coming in. We'll see what comes up. Hopefully, we can get some more going on. A new, more industrial and commercial tax base we get, the better it is. This actually ties a little bit into our fee schedule that we're going to be presenting, but I always like to give us a picture of where we're at with our water and sewer rates. Miranda calls and she gets the average sewer rate and water rate for 1,000 gallons, for 1,000 gallons, less than 1,000 gallons, 1,000 gallons, and 4,000 gallons. As you can see how we are here, she's got a comparison between the years and our comparison between the amounts. So you can see that we are not the lowest rate, but we are second lowest in the area. Not that we're trying to throw our area cities under the bus. Everybody's got their own stuff that they're doing, their own things that are coming into play. We don't have a Mazeppa on there, but I know they have a new plant coming online and they'll have bonding and things like that within their rates. We've been steadily increasing our rates with water and sewer because we're preparing for the sanitary district, and we're hoping to put aside some money so that we can defray some of the costs that we will be responsible for the bonding of the project. We are also hoping to get much more federal and state aid to do that project. It's a really good project. 1 discharge into the river instead of 4, and it's less cost of operation. So we're hoping going forward we will have a successful sanitary district. And this is our levies. So I have them from 2013 to 2026. Originally, when I did the levy for 2026, we had the pool bonding on. We decided that the pool bonding or the pool bid was too high. We pulled that off. So originally, we had an increase in 2026 going forward of 14.39% or 14.89%. Now, that does not mean your taxes for the city are going to go up 14.89%. It just means the levy amount is. Actually, we were able to remove that this year because that did not pass. It brought our levy increase down to 8.39%. Again, I always talk about how your tax bill comes. A lot of people think when they pay their taxes, say, I'll just give my example because everybody's tax bill is public record. I could go and look every single one of your houses up on the county and see what you pay for taxes. And my tax bill is right around $4,000. Now, I don't pay $4,000 to the city. I pay some to the city, some to the county, and some to the school. Usually it's about a third, a third, a third. So from what I am guessing, your tax bills per $100,000 worth of value are going to increase fairly slightly overall. All right.
That's all I've got.
Okay, so as we've reviewed the budget a zillion times, I know that you guys are so excited to be done with it for a few months before we have to start all over again. The major drivers in our budget this year were an increase in medical insurance, wages, because we had to adjust wages with union contracts, as well as just our regular wage studies, valuing our wages against other cities in our area at similar size. Also, we have an increase proposed of an officer increase. We've increased some of our capital equipment set-asides. We had to increase some subscription costs. As we know, most of our technical things, whether that be equipment or computers, they're going to subscription services, so that's increasing our subscription costs. We have another increase that we'll be talking about later, which is our current auditor has retired, and we are going to be bringing a new auditor on board, which also is an increase of about, almost, not quite double, but pretty significant increase in that. 1% of a levy increase is approximately about $28,000 from last year. So anything that raises a levy, $28,000, if everything else stays the same, that's going to bring the levy up 1%. And $28,000, unfortunately, doesn't go very far anymore, as we know, with equipment and all these things. So you will see that being reflected in there as well. Thank you.
Thanks, Kim. Thanks for all your work on the budget. Council, any questions, concerns on the budget levy? I know we've hammered it out for the last 3-4 months, and I think we've had 2 or 3 work sessions on it. Kind of know where we're at. I know there's been some questions on some of the topics. Not easy questions, but questions.
Make a motion. I'll make a motion to approve the budget for 2026.
Second.
Any further discussions? I will do a roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin? second.
Aye.
Fred?
Aye.
And aye, passes 500. Thanks, Kim and city staff for working on that budget. And we'll be back at it in about 3 months. 7B, 2026 fee schedule discussion and set public hearing. Brian?
Yes, it's that time of year too, to work on the fee schedule. I gave you some highlights on here. I can kind of run through those. I do have a little bit more information on the edible cannabinoid license. We're not allowed to collect anything for that. And we're not allowed to license them. When we went, did the original ordinance, we still had the edibles and the low potency. Somewhere along the line, it changed once they tweaked the law, and now the county has all of it. Nobody told us, didn't hear anything. So we have approved a few already. We'll have to refund some dollars, but I'll be sending a letter and getting together with all of our the retail sales that are doing this, just to let them know, hey, you have to contact the Office of Cannabis Management and then Goodhue County to get licensed. We're out of it. We're out of the enforcement and everything on it. So that fee, rather than being 125, is going to go away completely off of here. Been a lot of discussion about manual water meter reading. We're putting in new water meters, and the readers are cloud-based basically, and they read on an RF very little, less than a second a day total. But some people have concerns with that. So we've talked about allowing leaving the manual ones, or putting a manual one on the outside of the house, or different options. It's not a good idea, but it's something we've considered, and we need to have some sort of a fee to cover the cost to send someone out there with a truck, get out, go read it, bring it back here to Miranda, have Miranda do the work to manually put it in, and so we want to be responsible with that fee. I think other utilities, Excel and Minnesota Energy, or Excel charges a lot less for a manual read, but they've got a lot more resources than a city government who runs on taxpayer dollars. So we're looking at an hour for the truck, the person to go out there, all of that, and then for the adding it in manually and all that. So 2 hours, which equates to, I'm proposing $68 a month if you want to opt out of the cloud-based reading. Jeff or Kim, if you want to add anything to that, or did I explain it okay? Now, we're still kicking it around. We need council to consider whether or not we're truly going to allow people to opt out. Other communities don't allow that. Nope, we're going to do this because they read more accurate. We're going to replace every meter no matter what. The meters do not emit any RF. Those will be replaced no matter what. That's got nothing to do with this fee. But if we have to read it manually, this is the fee. Water sewer rates increased by 4%. Costs are going up. We got to keep up. Number of adjustments to the building mechanical plumbing code permit fee schedule that comes through Safe Built. Our building inspector. It's just, again, costs go up. And there is I think that's it. Is there anything else we want to talk about on the fee schedule, Kim or Jeff or anybody else or council?
The potentially dangerous boundaries that you would be with that.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I forgot to mention those. Those are ones that are being discussed still by the code committee. But I wanted to get them on here for consideration. Anything that we were going to consider, I want on here, going into the public hearing. So they may or may not happen before we have the public hearing on January 8th. They'll have another a code committee meeting, and we'll know some more whether or not this is going to be on there or not on there, on what that might look like. Yeah, the other adjustment, I just took the building permit fees off of the top part here, because that's all in the big schedule below.
Any more questions on the fees? So we are going to set a public hearing for January 8th at 6:05. So I just need a motion and a second for that.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0. Thanks, Brian. 7C, allocations of public safety dollars. We will have Kim and/or Brian give a little bit on that. Probably Brian first, then maybe Kim.
I'll
And
start
then
it.
we'll open it up to the public comments, give a couple public comments on that, and then see what council's wishes are.
Yeah, I'll start it off. We've discussed this many times. This is the one-time $300 million public safety aid that went out to cities, counties, tribal governments, and townships, depending on the size of the townships. Townships didn't all get the money. It went to the county in a lot of cases. But yeah, our share of that is $165,458. We've had, I don't know, several discussions and work sessions, and I think in the council meeting as well, about how to allocate those dollars. Kim and I have done a lot of work on that, a lot of thinking as well on what to propose to the council. I'll let Kim kind of give the methodology, what we kept coming back to in discussions amongst ourselves, staff and council, was that a percentage of budget-based allocation is, in our view, in staff's view, the most equitable way to allocate these dollars. But,
You have this to put up on the screen.
oh, yeah, sorry. And Kim can walk through this methodology. She's our numbers person, so.
All right, so, again, it's very complex how we do it. And I, to be honest, I really feel like the state dropped the ball on this because I don't think the township should not have gotten their money. But if you were a township with a population under 10,000, they gave your money to the county and the county distributed it whichever way they chose. Now, there were specific uses they could be used for. It's all outlined under the Minnesota Department of Revenue site. It can't be used for buildings. It can be used for staffing. It can be used for equipment. It can be used for various uses within it. There are either there's even some health and safety things that you can do. Of course, we don't have a health and safety department. So for me, how I looked at it, I looked at what we spend because I'm always thinking about how things affect the taxpayers. So I took how much we spend on each of our emergency departments. The police department, we fully own. The city of Zumbrota funds all of the police department. Our fire department is on a joint powers board with 4 townships. And our ambulance is also in a joint powers thing. Ambulance charges a straight per capita dues for their service. The fire board charges, we have a formula that we use based on per capita, land, I can't even remember because we did some changes in it recently, so I apologize, but that,
Land area.
land area, market value, it's all weighted, and that's how we come up with our dues. But the way that we did do the dues for the fire board was at the time of our discussion, the city said that we would be responsible for up to 52% of the dues. We aren't there yet. We don't come to 52. I think we're at 50.7 maybe. But we pay 52% of the dues for the fire board, which is around, next year's budgeted amount is $91,972. The ambulance, I am just guessing because I haven't quite got the bill, but I'm believing our bill would be $80,000. And our police costs with staffing, vehicles, insurance, all those things, that budget is $954,454. So for me, math person, I just took it, added it all together, got a total of $1,126,426. And then I figured out what percentage each emergency service person or department took of that. So if you divide that out, the police department would be 84.73%, the fire would be 8.16%, the ambulance would be 7.10%. And then I times those percentages by the $165,458 of public safety money we got, which gives the police department, if you were choose to do that, $173.07. The fire department, $13,509.55. And the ambulance department, $11,751.01. Whatever you decide, however you guys decide to split this up, anything that we would give to the entities, no matter what, we would earmark. I would suggest that you earmark it for equipment, which I think any of them would be happy to use for any equipment, whatever monies they get. You don't have to spend it right away. It can sit, your choice right this now. You could decide not to split this money up today if you want to, because there's no deadline on spending it. But I feel that it's there, and I personally feel that it would be a good thing to make a determination or to start really kicking the ball around a determination. Nothing has to be decided tonight, but it's a really good discussion to have. Again, I just did it as numbers. I don't have any, it's not a valuation of saying one service is worth more than the other. I am just saying, if you weight it within our budget and the cost that it has, this is the way it works out. So you guys can discuss it and feedback on it and anything you want to do.
And I do want to know, well, you notice on here that, yeah, there was some allocated for a police use already. That's why it's 119 for the police. But it should be noted that this is not area tax dollars. This is a per capita city taxpayer give back of some money to use on public safety. No public safety entity is any more important than any other. It's just a matter of we have to be cognizant of the budget, the different budget areas, and the breakout, seems to be, in our opinion, seems to be responsible. Everybody doesn't have to agree, for sure. We pass the information along, council can debate it. But yeah, that's how we got here, and we've had it for a while. So yeah, we'd kind of like to, let's do something. We've been calling the carpet a couple of times by a particular township at a fire board meeting, so for not doing anything with it yet. So I kind of kicked it back in front of the council again.
Perfect. Thanks, Kim and Brian, for the information. I assume John wants to speak first. And then we'll do maybe a couple other people if they want comments on it. And then we'll talk it amongst the council, see what we want to do.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. My name is John Olson. I serve as Administrative Chief of the Zumbrota Fire Department. I'm here tonight to follow up on my February 2024 request regarding the $165,458 the city received in state public safety aid. In our previous discussions, I proposed an equal three-way split of $55,152 for police, fire, and EMS. This proposal was rooted in simple principle. To the citizens we serve, these three pillars of public safety are equally vital. When a resident calls for help, they don't value the responding agency based on the size of its annual budget. They value the life-saving service provided in that moment. I understand there's been discussions about allocating these funds proportionally based on the existing city budget. If this allocation is based strictly on budget size, it creates a fundamental inequity. To put this into perspective for the taxpayers, the city currently invests $248 per resident into the police department, but only $24 per resident into the fire department and $21 into EMS. Our fire budget is lower because we are volunteer-led. We provide millions of dollars of sweat equity by not drawing a salary, which keeps the city's tax burden low. However, our equipment, gear, and training costs are not discounted. By tying aid to budget size, the city is inadvertently penalizing the very departments that save it the most money. I am frustrated by this proposal because it suggests that our volunteer firefighters are less of a priority than their salaried counterparts. Under this model, for every dollar given to the fire department, the police department receives over 10. However, I'm here today to be a partner in this process, not an adversary. I'm requesting that the safety dollars are split evenly among the three pillars of public safety: police, fire, and EMS. My goal is to ensure that every tax dollar from the state aid is used to provide the highest level of protection for the people of Zumbrota. Thank you.
Perfect, thanks, John. Anybody else want to speak on this matter? I will close the public portion. Council, we've had discussions. I know we talked about work sessions. I got the pleasure to talk to a fire department, or fire about it. What's everybody's take on it? I know work session, we kind of discussed it.
I understand the reason for dividing it up according to percentages. I see that. I still feel that a split seems appropriate. Just that it's extra dollars we did get from the state. I think it could be more beneficial to all if it was split. That's my opinion.
I see value in both. I see value in what John is saying, and I also see the tax burden on the citizens. I see value in that. So, I don't know, but I totally get what John's saying, and I totally get, saying the citizens of Zumbrota it would be a hardship on them if we don't kind of get it. But I see value in both situations. Because John's right, nobody's going to, oh, you're coming to save my life, that's your concern, not what taxes you paid towards them coming to save your life. So I get that.
My perspective is that the taxpayer money from Zumbrota residents that has been sent back essentially in layman's terms. So the split should go according to their already existing expenditures, which is, I view, the most just and equitable way to divvy it out is in accordance with the percentages.
Yeah, I just kind of see it as a bonus coming from there, and it's allocated to divide up between fire, police, and ambulance, and it's kind of bonus money to help all these, everyone that we got, so I lean toward dividing the people.
I'm going to refer to Radke because I know him a little bit personally, but him and I had a conversation the other day a little bit about taxpayers, and as a business or as a residence, you're paying for all three of these. And we get extra money. So it's some of the taxpayers have to pay extra for this money. So, I mean, do I agree with the split of 84, 8, and 7? No, but I think it needs to be a lot stronger towards the police department than the fire and the ambulance. With the ambulance, we already pay a per capita. I think it's what, $250 going to $3.
$17.50 going to $20. Exactly.
Oh, is it? Okay, which one am I thinking? Okay.
It increased per year by.
Oh, that's what it was, okay. So, I mean, I would have to leave towards Kevin that our taxpayers have already paid it. I mean, it's unfortunate that had to go to Goodhue County and they decided to put it right to the sheriff. But I would be open to give a little more to the fire department of whatever that amount is. Because I'm on the fire board and I understand equipment is outrageous, and that is, I mean, just the turnout gear to spend what, $100,000 and the walkie-talkies and stuff like that. So is there a right answer? There's not.
Can I just say, as far as the city budget goes, because we own one of the departments. We have to completely fund one of the departments. The dollars provide an opportunity to possibly lower the levy in some areas over time if we allocate towards equipment, things like that. If we don't spend on extra stuff, not that there's anything extra, need all the tools that they can get, but there is an opportunity when we're working with our own budget that we can lessen the tax burden to local taxpayers with these dollars. That opportunity does not exist with fire and ambulance, which is fine. Because I'm guessing that if we give more money to fire, we're probably not going to realize lower dues because there's a lot of equipment needs there. We have a lot of equipment needs within police too, but those dollars, since we own the budget, we have the budget, we can infuse some dollars into equipment, possibly over time, save a little bit of levy. Could. That's kind of our theory on when we talk through this on, this could be a benefit for the local taxpayers. It's their money coming back in one, with something like this, we're certainly willing to give dollars elsewhere, but,
And just to reiterate, none of this money can be used for dues or allocations. That is not a
Right.
use that is eligible under this program. So it would have to be equipment, personnel, which.
Yes, Tony.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I would like to just point out, year-to-date, the police department's done over 5,300 calls for service. The fire department, looking at quick CAD data, is 92, with a third of those being township calls, not city of Zumbrota calls. I would ask, has the fire department gone to the county board and asked for their share of the money that was allocated to the townships, or are they only coming to the city for that money at this point?
Can I answer? I talked to one township board member and they said the county spent it already.
Yeah, there's not an opportunity there because under a certain population, the money went to the county. And I don't know 100%, but I believe they spent it on police things, which the townships benefit from. So there's a direct benefit for them that way too. But again, that's the county's budget, the county's dollars. They spend it on their budget. We're willing to send out some money that is not ours. We're just a part of these joint powers, but we're willing to send dollars that way. Or we're proposing.
Brian, do you know if the county got the dollars and could divvy them up to the townships? Was there a percentage or was it based on population on what they would get?
They didn't, there was no divvying up, but I know Goodyear County got $925,541.
And it was per capita. So whatever your township per capita was, it was,
Right.
everything was per capita.
Yeah, and I think they could do with it what they wanted to, but they had needs. They had sheriff needs. That's where they put the dollars. That's fine. All the townships benefit from that.
Is there a way to find per capita per township to find out what they may have gotten?
I believe so.
And I'm just thinking through, if we're gonna, give more dollars, if we're not gonna split it, which I still like the idea of splitting it in thirds, but I'm just, what those dollars might be. Just an idea.
I'm just saying if they broke it out at all.
And that was statewide, right? So each city got different amount per their capita.
I think it was
According to the Department of Revenue, they did not break it down by town, but I'm searching it.
you can see the townships that did get money, but I don't think you can see townships that didn't get money.
Probably because they got lump sums
Because
in
it
the
went to a
county.
lump to the county, yep. Yep, and that's fine. I don't want to question, they did what they did, and great.
Yeah, they did not break it down by township.
Right.
It went straight to county.
And we're just trying to be cognizant of our taxpayers, because that's who we're in charge of. That's who look to you guys. And again, staff, we work with numbers, we look at levies, we look at, how can we do this better? And this was our thoughts on it, right or wrong. By all means, whatever you think is best, you guys are the decision makers. Not going to hurt my feelings if you go a different direction.
You don't have to make a decision tonight.
Right.
We're just bringing this forward so you can start.
And we can get more information for you if you want more information. You guys can talk about it longer.
I do think we need to keep moving with this one because it's been a while. I would like to look at these numbers a little bit more to see if there's somewhere in between or if, or we just do thirds, which some talk about, some don't agree with. I don't know.
Would you like me to see if I can get the township populations and work some of the numbers with the township populations and within our districts with the per capita? Because I might be able to work out something like that to give you a little bit more idea of what they would have gotten.
You know, and I don't know where that split would be, but it'd just be interesting to see what that figure might be.
Okay, let me see what I can find. I'll talk to the guy, Alan Lawmeyer at the county, see if I can get that split from him. Because it's a per capita, so if he gives me the split of how many people are in there, that just gives you more information.
Just a quick question for John. If we did go a third, what would the fire department plan? I mean, obviously the capital equipment, I mean, or do you have something,
Right
new
now,
turnout gear? I mean, what's kind of the thinking now on that?
roughly 15 air packs that are, they took them to Clary's and they said that they're out of date. They don't really make parts anymore for them. And so we're on borrowed time. I called Clary's today. A new air pack is $7,000. And our budget is low and we don't have that much capital. I try and apply for grants. Most big grants are 50-50 matching. So if we got the 50,000, we could earmark it for air packs or equipment. I could use that to apply for grants and hopefully turn it into 100,000, which, I mean, we could go into the equipment room and spend 500,000 right now on stuff we need, not stuff we want, stuff we need. And so that's where I'm grateful for the consideration of 13,000, but I mean, it's a drop in the bucket. And in my opinion, we would save the taxpayers of Zumbrota money, because if we could get 100,000 for air packs, we don't have to increase our budget, which would in turn fall back on the taxpayers. So
That's a good point. It would ease the equipment budget. We've got the same type of equipment schedule with the fire that we do with, well, here, with our budget, so.
I mean, if we're looking, if I can speak again,
Yeah.
If we're looking at budget, we have to take the salary out of the budget and look at only the equipment, in my opinion. For police, take their salary, PRA out of it, Medicare, because we don't get that. If we got that, our budget would be through the roof. And then our percentage would be higher. So, I mean, if you're looking at it that way, it's not apples to apples in my mind.
So to move this forward, as much as I hate to push this off, I think we need a little more information before we make a decision. I mean, is that kind of where we're at? I mean, we've been sitting on it for 2+ years. What's another month or two? So I would
like a little bit more time to kick through some scenarios.
So, I mean, we have council on the 8th and the 22nd of January. And I would say February 5th. That'd be enough to have discussion. I mean, another month. So let's plan on doing that and let the firefighters know that we'll get more information. And then January 5th, we'll at least make a decision of some sort of February. Yeah, we'll put it on that one. So jot that down, that February 5th council meeting, we will figure out what we want to do and how we want to go. Does that sound fair? John, that's what we'll do is February 5th, we will have more answers for us council, for you guys, whoever, and then we'll make a decision on the 5th. and I'm gone that day.
No, I'm joking.
Perfect. Thanks, John. Thanks,
Thank
Fire
you.
Department.
Well spoken, John. Thank you.
Let's jump to 7D, 460th Street Maintenance Agreement. Brian?
Yes, I don't think we've got anybody in attendance from Roscoe Township, but what we've got going there is we have an agreement that's been in place since 2011. And it hasn't changed. Cost-wise, we were paying $750 a year for the maintenance for half of 3/4 of a mile of a gravel road. Let me just get to it here. So they came proposing that an increase in the amount with the contract for the maintenance. They brought to me a Mineola Township increase that they had received on a road that Mineola and Roscoe share. And so I asked for the same type of a breakout on this portion of the road. And so they did, and they brought this. Jeff and the guys looked it over, and we feel that the cost is there. It's right. It is what it is. They're actually looking for $1,500 rather than the $1,480.26. Brian Hoven requested $1,500 a year. We don't think that's out of line. I'll let Jeff talk here in a minute too, but we will be meeting with them again to look at the body of the agreement. The cost portion we want to get set before the first of the year because we need to get the payment out. But we will look at the body of the agreement and some things that we'll tweak there with them as well. But Jeff, do you want to chime in?
Yeah, I guess when looking into it with the amount of rock and stuff for that 3/4 of a mile, we're just looking at needing more data when the rock goes down, that we are getting what's proposed. Is basically all we're looking into.
And that'll carry through to all the agreements that we have like this. Most of them is just paid. We don't ask for any, we trust. It's not that we don't trust them. But again, we're responsible for taxpayer dollars. So, we're going to look at a little more follow-up on these agreements. Say, okay, periodically we're going to say, all right, can you give us the receipts for this work that was done? We just want to check. Some things get missed sometimes. Whoops, we didn't do that portion of the road this year. Okay, fine. But so those type of things, but that'll be part of the agreement. We're ready to ask you to approve the $1,500.
Is this section on the west side west of Grover's?
Yeah.
Jackson Cheese, that 3/4 that way.
section. Yep.
And I guess, the receipt is not an issue. It's just some of the work isn't getting done every 4 years. That's kind of what we want to make sure it gets done. And a majority of it's the gravel getting installed for that 3/4 of a mile. I don't know if we need the receipts. We just want proof that it's done because it sounds like it has not been getting done every 4 years. So that's kind of what we're questioning with the township.
Yeah, and they'll provide documentation. They were quite a bit offended when I asked the question. Well, rightfully so. But I assured them that, no, this is not just this agreement. We're going to, it's our responsibility to follow up on things as well. So, but as far as this goes, the cost is what it is, and it's going to be there. And we'll work on the rest of the agreement and the rewording some things in there as we go. We're going to visit a Roscoe Township board meeting and talk through some things as well. So.
And Jeff, it's in line what you're seeing cost-wise for shared stuff like that?
For that, yep. And they actually are slightly, for the rock, they are slightly cheaper than Mineola Township and stuff. So, yep, as long as the rock's being applied, there's no discrepancy there.
Perfect. So I just need a motion and a second to approve that contract.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Thanks, Jeff and Brian, on that one. 7E is City Auditor. Kimberly.
Okay. So the
Current audit firm we've had, Scanlon Merchant Associates, we have had in one form or another since for over 20 years. And they are getting away from audit. It's a very, governmental audits are very specialized. So we got permission from you guys a while back to go and send out RFPs. Brian's contacted 5 firms. We got three responses back for a 3-year contract. Of course, there's inflation in every year for their cost. Currently, we were paying $24,000 a year for an audit. From the 3, I'm just going to read the 2025 quotes we have from Abdo Eck & Myers. The quote for 2025 was $37,975. From Smith Schaefer, the quote for 2025 was $43,000. And from CLA, Clifton Larson and Allen, the quote was $59,810. The only firm which called me and talked to me was Abdo. We actually talked for over an hour. I'll be honest, I've worked with one auditor and I'm a little concerned about going to another. It's an unknown. Had a really lovely conversation with them. They were the only one that contacted me, spent an hour on the phone with me, asked me about staffing, asked me what questions I had, said if they were chosen, they would send specific information to find out what things we needed to do to get prepared for the audit. Our audit would get done, I believe, earlier because our previous auditor also does income tax. This firm is large enough that they do strictly, they have a department to do strictly audits. This firm is also used by a number of other cities our size. I believe Pine Island uses them.
Inland, Cannon Falls, I'm trying to remember the rest of the list.
Caledonia, I think was one of
The
them.
Southeast Services Cooperative
Yep.
uses them as well.
And so again, there's approximately $22,000 difference between the low and the high. So my recommendation personally is that we would go with Abdo as our new city auditor. If you guys decide to approve that, we would enter into an audit agreement, which would come at a future meeting for you to sign off in, and we will schedule the audit and go forward.
Please.
I'll make that motion to approve Abdo for 2025.
Second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. Thanks, Kim, for doing that work. New business, resolution 2025-40, sale of city land. Miles, Rob.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So tonight we're bringing in a staff report for the sale of land to Keller Bartman Properties at 70 West 3rd Street. This is part of the Bridgeview Apartments project, but the weird part is that this land is in 3 separate parcels. And so one of them is owned by the city. And originally we didn't think that the building was going to be on that land, but as the project has progressed, we've found that they are going to be building a portion on that property. So we're proposing to sell that land to them. And so we have agreed to a fair market price of $3,600. And we brought this before Planning Commission, and to do a sale of land, we need it to fit into our comprehensive plan. So I provided a staff report to you all and the Planning Commission about how this meets our comprehensive plan. For example, it achieves our housing initiatives because it's going to be used to provide workforce housing, which was our key tenet of our comprehensive plan, as well as land use goals that we've had as well. And so we brought that before Planning Commission on December 9th, and they approved this report 4-1, bringing it to City Council tonight.
Any questions on that, Council?
Wasn't the original plan drawn on that property with the patio and everything?
Yeah, so we were not planning on selling the land. We were planning on doing an easement for the patio. And somewhere along the line, it shifted and moved, and we got a little corner of the building ended up on this property. Had it not been building, we would have just done an easement, more of a permanent easement, I think, Mike, is the wording. But yeah, it came to light that their corner of the building is on some of it. So that necessitated selling the land. We got this land for $0. It's not going to be buildable. It's not going to be usable for us at any point. This is part of where Bob asked the questions, because there's some parking on there. So this is where, some of it will still be parking, and it'll be public parking.
So when they surveyed that, they must have known when the mortgage were big when they do this. So what they they still do it on city property. From the word go, right?
At some point.
Originally, so they,
So originally, when we were starting this all out, when they did the surveys, the property was a little smaller than they thought originally with their first looks at it and their first concept drawings. So I'm guessing that's where it changed a little bit. But again, like Miles said, this is a report. We had to show the planning commission that it's consistent with our comprehensive plan. Everything is on here. Miles did a nice job. Housing, land use, it all fits right in with the comprehensive plan. So it should be noted that the planning commission approved this on a 4-1 vote.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 2025-40.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? I will do a roll call. Bob?
Aye.
Joan?
Aye.
Kevin?
Aye.
Fred?
they,
And I passes 4-1. Thanks, Rob, and the planning and zoning for that work. Let's jump to 8B, Zumbrota Public Works Teamsters contract. Brian?
Yep, well, here, I'm gonna go back up to my memo. That's got some of the highlights on there. And that contains a typo as well. I always gotta throw in a couple of typos to see if you guys are reading this.
Kevin?
No, that's not the reason. I just have typos now and then. So yeah, it was a great negotiation. Again, like I said, with LELS, the police, everybody's after the same thing. We're all here to take care of our city, to make it better. So it was a pleasure negotiating with the public works staff and the Teamsters as well. A lot of the similar things that carried through to the LELS contract that kind of carried through to both. We did revise on-call language in this one from 5 to 6 hours, from 5 hours paid to 6 hours paid for Saturday and Sunday on call. These guys are going out on the weekends. And we want to make sure we compensate for them. They're losing out on some family time. It's part of the job, but still, compensation for it is big, and we're happy to be able to agree to those increases. Up to 8 hours for holiday from 6. Again, they're out there on a holiday, not with their family, taking care of our city. So we agreed to go to 8 hours on that. Here's where the typo is. It says Christmas Day changed from a half day to a full day off. Well, Christmas Day has always been a full day, of course. Should say Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve changed from a half day to a full day. And we agreed to that. Wage adjustments similar to, well, exactly the same as the contract you approved at the last meeting for the police. Wage study this year, and then 3% in 27 and 28. Again, the increased longevity payments, that carries through to staff from $60 to $65. That hadn't changed in as long as Kim can remember, and she's been here for a few years. And we consolidated, similar to what we did with the police too, we consolidated the boot allowance and uniform provisions into one section, giving individuals the ability to give themselves what they need. Boots, they wear them out pretty quickly, but sometimes the boots last a little longer, then they don't have to buy on that schedule. They can get another piece of clothing or something that they need. And this includes the logo clothing, which that is one thing too, that all logo clothing will be worn at all times when on city time. No different hats, no different jackets, no different. When you're on the clock, you are wearing City of Zumbrota logo clothing. You should be identified as a proud City of Zumbrota employee. So that was in there too. That was part of the whole deal. But yeah, so it was a good negotiation, good contract. I think beneficial for the citizens as well as the staff, and keeping morale high and keeping everybody. Well, they do just a phenomenal job. So we're happy to have them.
I'll make a motion to approve the labor agreement.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 500. I just want to thank Bob for his work on that and with the police union personnel committee and then the representatives for both unions. I know it was a lot quick and easier than it has been in the past, so.
And just for reference, the personnel committee, Todd, Bob, myself, and Miles, Rob, we're in on the negotiations. Kim has a whole lot of support for us as well, so she's part of the group too.
Perfect. Thank you. 8C, posting of the police sergeant position. Brian?
Yes, well, maybe
Or
we'll kick
chief.
it to Pat, yeah.
So we've had certainly a lot of discussion over the past year and many workshops in regards to this position and the importance of it. This is a much needed position to fill a hole that we vacated a few years ago when we had a couple of officers leave for the sheriff's office. So originally it was a supervisor position, and there's been some recent discussion on making that return to that same position, which makes it a lot more palatable to that person, knowing what their responsibilities are, rather than impose that on an officer. Because there's a certain shift that we're utilizing to make some flexibility, so to cover shifts, time off, soon to have these sabbatical leaves and so forth, as well as just being able to keep our staffing level up to more than one, especially during that peak time. We experience frequent instances where the city is uncovered by police presence because it calls for services. This is just the nature of our business. And so therefore, there are times where the city is relying on the county to potentially take calls for us in our absence. So having that extra personnel is essential to shift coverage and so forth. So I'm just hoping that you all agree in the same and we can move forward, hopefully here sometime in the early year to get someone on board.
I'll make a motion to approve the post and sergeant's position.
I'll second.
Any further discussions? I know we've discussed it. I know we talked about a little bit about if we hired an officer, it would probably be a level 3, 4, or 5, and the sergeant would be a 1 or 2 because of inexperience. So that's kind of something that we need to make sure that we keep an eye on, that we are at that level, because that's kind of what we talked about, and it's kind of a wash hourly wise. So I just wanted to point that out. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussions?
You know, just gonna, some things might be changing on the year here, but being that we're gonna end up with 3 supervisor positions for overseeing 4 officers. I mean, going to the 7th officer with 3 years, some of your time up, Tony, to do your sergeant work. I mean, I would think between the chief and the sergeant, we'll see the other ones. We'd almost have three supervisor positions to 4 officers. And it's not, you're going to get by with 1 sergeant. And getting that 7th officer, that'll free up more time for you to be able to do more roles of the sergeant then. So I would like to see us explore for an officer.
I just have to voice one concern that I have. Chief and Tony have explained things quite well of what they need, what they like. Mayor Hamels talked about the order and the timing of it. I still have a little concern. I just wonder if it was something to wait with until I know our chief is retiring at some point, and wondering if we need to wait until we do have a new chief in line. It's just a thought that I have, concern.
I can certainly help answer that.
What's that?
I can certainly help answer why you wouldn't want to do that. That was a way to do it in the past. Most agencies now are they're preparing rather than waiting. That puts us behind the 8 ball even further when we do that. It takes time to train somebody in, and it also takes time just to ultimately process that employee. Especially if it's someone that's, if you're hiring for an officer, which you're going to end up doing at some point, you may end up having, you're likely going to have a brand new person right out of school, and that's 4 months of FTO. So if we plan it that way, we'll always be behind the 8 ball. And so it's better to be prepared. With my anticipation of retiring, which I'd really like to do, it would be best to try to be ahead of that than behind it. Because otherwise we're going to put ourselves behind, and it's going to again cause issues with covering time off and having proper coverage. So, I think we did this here with Officer Brecht for that hire. We were anticipating an officer that was going to leave for the state patrol, which is unheard of to say, hey, we're going to start the process, even though this person hasn't even been fully hired on to that other agency. He gave us almost 6 months of notice. And it took almost 4 of those months to get somebody that would fit in the bill. And ultimately, we were able to hire somebody. We used some of those safety dollars to bridge the funding gap of that. And that officer was still working alongside this other officer before he left, which allowed that officer, which was Officer Evenson, to help train that new officer. That way we didn't have a gap. Very important to us. We are a small department. We are understaffed, and we still will be with the 7th officer, according to all the statistics. So, as well as our level of service. We do a lot of calls for service compared to agencies that are the same size.
And Pat, the request for a sergeant is because you're trying to cover shifts, not necessarily just 4 officers, but the shifts that those officers.
Well, the supervisors, when it was originally detailed, I mean, this allows supervision to happen when I'm not here. I mean, I can only be here for so long. And then we have coverage at night for supervisory assistance to those officers. So they're able to help make decisions that then I don't have to make. So, I mean, there's a heck of a lot really to it. And so ultimately in this position, those sergeants, they supervised their team. I supervised those sergeants. It's a chain of command. This is the way it's done in virtually every agency around, so.
The dynamics, and we've discussed this before, but with one sergeant trying to cover both sides of the schedule, stretching our sergeant pretty thin. This position is, part of the responsibility is to cover shifts for those on your side of the schedule. To find an officer to do that or agree to all that flexibility and the, what do we call the mid shift, 3 to 3. We were going to try and do it. We went into it thinking, okay, we're going to hire an officer. We're going to try and make this work. The more we talked about it, and the more it was talked about amongst the officers in the area and whoever else might have been interested, the more it became obvious that, hey, we should probably relook at a sergeant position, a little more enticing, a little better top end, supervisory, which some people are going to be looking for to get into that, get that experience. So I really think a sergeant is the way to go. For a lot of those reasons, and it's way more complex than we can even explain right now. We had a work session that went forever, and Chief and Sergeant did a wonderful job with the presentation on shifting and all of that stuff. So from an administrative standpoint, I would recommend a sergeant, but
in my opinion on it, and I've been pretty open about it, is knowing the chief is retiring August-ish, that's going to put us short there, depending on where we hire. If we can hire a supervisor to help some of the supervising, so when the chief leaves and we have a new chief, we have somebody that kind of knows our system, where we can teach the possible new chief or help with coverage. I've also learned over the 8 years of being in the personnel committee, about every 2 or 3 years, we lose a good officer. We just lost Tyler here. Is it gonna happen? So I'd rather be a little more proactive on that. Plus also, we're losing our chief here in 10 months. So, and I think a supervisor is more appetizing, because we should get more experienced officer versus if we just hired an officer, they're usually a little bit or a lot green because of the stepping stone of school. So that is kind of my opinion, and I've kind of made that clear kind of the whole way. So to go back to the original, I think we have a motion to hire a sergeant and we have a second. Any other discussion on this topic? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, passes 3-2. 8D, resolution 2025-38 on the subdivision of 454 West 2nd Street. Miles, you want to take that quick?
Yep. So Jared Post at 454 West 2nd Street, seeking to change the lot lines of his property into the neighboring property at 472 West 2nd Street. He owns both of these properties, just to provide more context there. But he's seeking to do that because he wants to add more to his principal house, so that he can sell his other property. And this was brought to Planning Commission December 9th, and public hearing was held. We did hear one public comment, and it was against this from a neighbor, but they didn't wish to be shared publicly. And so, yeah, that's what I have for you right now.
Any questions on that, council? I mean, we're starting to see that more and more when people want to do things. We got little chunks of land here and that, so it's just to kind of combine it into one lot.
Right, and then he's going to sell the one he's currently combining? Or no?
I think he wants, Miles, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, so he lives at 454 West 2nd Street, but the other house at 472, he owns it, but he wants to sell that one. So he wants to move his lot line over into it, mostly so he can keep his garden. But so he wants to move that lot line over, and this is just the process we have to do with the county to get all squared away.
I'll make the motion to approve this. I'll second.
Any further discussions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes 5-0-0. Reports, Brian.
Yes, the pool bid, our pool rebid, Jeff, Troy Ness from the Park Board, and he's on the pool committee too. And I met with Burbach earlier this week to review the rebid advertisement and changes made to the plans and specifications. They did just exactly what they said they would do. One request that we did have was to consider a line item bid. I don't know if that's possible with a complex pool bid. I don't want to have bidders say, well, we're not going to bid because that's too much work to give every little line item, but something we're going to consider rather than alternates. The alternates are what they did, which is great. I think we'll probably stick with the alternates, but if there's an opportunity to go to line item, we can see every line item. You know, that gives the park board and council the opportunity to say, you know, not this, for each individual line item. But the problem is all those little line items are tied to something else, and you just can't get rid of some of that stuff. So I think it'll be alternates on there. The ad will go out right after New Year's. More pool stuff. The Zabel group, the Zumbrota Area Business Leaders Group, is hosting a social media opportunity for donors here at, or supporters even, here at City Hall They're going to do some little interviews and put it out on Facebook and social media. So anybody interested in that, 2 p.m. tomorrow, the doors will be open and they're going to do their thing with that. So, and along those lines, the Zabel, Todd Fitz and Brian Haugen from that group did a nice video that was out on Facebook. I don't know if anybody saw it. I liked it and shared it and did all that. I don't know how many followers I have though. But a big thank you, big thank you to them for all of their efforts.
That it?
That's it.
Thank you. Mike Flaherty, do you have anything to add to public comments?
Not tonight, thanks.
Thank you. Beth, is it Beth? Okay, sorry.
Thank you. Just a report for Zumbrota Area Ambulance. We are in the process of initiating an audit for our services. That process has begun. I don't have a date on when that will be completed, but I'll be in contact with Kevin and Brian once we know. Typically, we try to have that at a full board meeting, but I don't have a date at this point in time. What we do have is a date for when we will get our next new rig, and we anticipate that being in active service this spring. In conjunction with the conversation from earlier, we ordered that rig 3 years ago. We will soon be on tee for ordering our next new rig, knowing that it needs that much lead time. And so when it comes to equipment dollars, I agree with what Mr. John Olson said about we have plenty of dollars that we need to continue to maintain our equipment for life-saving for this community. And first and foremost, we appreciate every dollar that we're allocated. Secondly, if there's any opportunity for any additional dollars, we will not turn those down. So, thank you.
Thank you. Chief?
Nothing tonight.
Nothing today.
I just want to say, it's our last council meeting of 2025. I want to thank the council and all our city staff for the hard work that we've done this year. I know we've had a couple of hiccups, but we're still working them on. But I just want to thank all you guys' hard work and city staff, and have a good holiday. Bob?
Nothing tonight.
Joan? Kevin?
Just Merry Christmas to everybody.
Meeting adjourned.